This is story time. The countryside view was lush and green. The sun was going down as a horse-drawn carriage made its way to the estate of the Radcliff family. Tonight's party was one of great importance and amusement. Although the Radcliff family was rich and well known, acknowledged by the king himself, they stayed in the ear of the town. As Mr. and Mrs. Radcliff greeted their guests by the grand entrance, Raven, their daughter, was going from room to room, trying to escape the heat of the candlelights that she could not escape. She briefly bumped into her twin brother Ray. They both felt the same about this evening's affair. Their mother was set to marry them both off to the best suitors. Raven's tan skin, long black hair, and green eyes was an exotic look for this town. Her twin brother was the same, except his eyes were blue. You see, they grew up in the Caribbean and only recently summoned by the king to return. The Radcliffs wanted to introduce their children into society before going to court. Raven and Ray stood by the window, looking at each carriage and the people that dismounted, trying to find out who was important and who wasn't. Raven and Ray both had never imagined being married off to strangers for the sake of the family or king. They both were each other's best friends. Being apart from one another is a heartbreaking thought. Raven secretly considered becoming a spinster just to be free from a marriage that would whisk her away. As a small wave of people gently spread into the rooms, Ray was caught off guard. He looked surprised but had a smile. A tall, handsome man walked toward them both. His sandy gray hair was off-putting to Raven, and she felt ruffled and couldn't explain why. "Captain Garrett, what are you doing here? I never in 1,000 years would have expected to see you here." Ray reached out to shake the man's hand. Raven remembered him now. She saw him on the dock in the Caribbean before they had launched. Even then, she felt something inside when their eyes had locked. Ray quickly introduced them both. And once again, their eyes locked for an unusual long time. It felt like an eternity. Their hands had embraced a bit too long, and he laughed a bit, then steered Captain Garrett into the crowded room, leaving Raven in a spell. She quickly recovered with a tugging on her arm by her mother. "Mr. Wood, this is my beautiful daughter, Raven." They quickly exchanged greetings. Mr. Wood was an interesting man. He looked like a ladies' man. All the women in the room began to walk towards him. Raven knew instantly he was trouble. The mischievous smile on his face said it all. Mrs. Radcliff wasted no time in ushering Raven around the room with introductions. Her dance card was quickly filled. After dancing several times, the next name on her card had caught her off guard. Captain Garrett. How in the world did his name end up in her book? Regardless, he stood only a few inches away from her, readying for the music to begin. She took a breath as she felt a bit lightheaded, probably from the heat of the dancing, candlelights, or these overly crowded rooms. The music began, and before she knew it, she was in his arms, dancing, smiling, and laughing. Well, I hope you enjoyed this short story that I just wrote. I decided to try something a little different. Let me know if you'd like to see a part 2 of what could happen after dancing. This is my first time trying this, so sorry if I fumbled. Thank you so much for coming by and taking a chance on this story time.